Lenhle Khoza, Samsung's B-BBEE and Corporate Affairs Transformation Manager, about the Solve for Tomorrow finals. The Solve for Tomorrow competition is Samsung's contribution to youth empowerment and skills development in the information communication technology sector to help advance the country's fourth industrial revolution agenda. This week, the top 10 schools presented prototypes of STEM-inspired solutions for their community for a chance to win 100,000 rands worth of STEM equipment for their school. Lenhle is back to tell us how the road to the finals went and who the winner is. Lenhle, welcome, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for inviting me to your program.
So please share a recap of the local Samsung Solve for Tomorrow competition. What was the road to the finals like?
So this is a program that actually started last year. We started with a roadshow to 51 schools around the 9 provinces in South Africa. These schools were, in fact, all the schools were in underserviced communities around the countries. And we targeted grade 10 and 11 learners to enter teams to basically enter this competition that would address key societal issues in the communities that they are in. So then in January of this year, we opened up the competition to the 51 schools and then allowed them to enter their solutions. This was then adjudicated by a panel of judges, which then culminated in the announcement of the top 10 schools to go into the second phase of the competition. While the schools were entering their applications, we started recruiting Samsung employees to volunteers as mentors of the top 10 schools. What we then did to basically start the second phase of the competition was to take these schools out of their environments into a one-day workshop where we then taught them skills. The workshop itself was called the Design Thinking Workshop, where we basically gave them skills on collaboration, on creative thinking, and communication as one of the skills that we taught them there. It was the first time that these schools were meeting their mentors. And we also gave them skills on how to take these ideas that they'd entered in the first phase of the competition and build prototypes that would be presented at the finals. And then we also gave them funding, about 5,000 Rand. It wasn't a lot of money in our eyes. We didn't want to stress the schools of having to find the funding at the end of the day to say how we're now going to fund these prototypes. So we wanted to take the burden off these schools. So we gave them funding to say, here's money that you can use to build a prototype, because effectively it is a prototype. And then for 6 months, they would then interact with their mentors virtually and in person through a tablet that we also provided to the top 10 schools. And these tablets were loaded with data to ensure that we level the playing field for everybody who was participating. At the end of this process, we then invited the 10 schools to come and present the prototypes they'd been developing. This is what then happened in the past 2 days. So these schools were transported from their respective provinces into Johannesburg, and then they presented the prototypes. And I must say, we are so proud of the top 10 because the teams that we presented to in April of this year and the teams that presented the final prototypes have grown so much in confidence. We saw the innovation come to life, and we were just very, very well pleased about the innovation that came out of these learners that actually come from underserviced communities. From where we sit, we really believe that there is a hope for our country, and our youth in underserviced communities just need exposure.
And what prizes did the students in schools get for their winnings?
So the winning schools got, so for first prize, it was 100,000 Rand in STEM equipment for the winning school. Second prize was 50,000 Rand in STEM equipment. And third prize was 30,000 Rand. But in addition to that, all the winners that were in the top three were awarded Samsung devices for them and their teachers.
Oh, fantastic. And can you share a little bit about what the STEM equipment is? Do the schools provide input, or is it like lab equipment? What does Samsung and the schools have in mind for the STEM equipment that they've won?
So what we said is that we don't want to dictate to the schools, because we don't have an appreciation of what the need in the school is. We would rather the school comes back to us and say, this is where we need equipment, and then we will then make it available for them.
Yep. And so, without further ado, let's get the suspense over and done with. Who won, and what did they present?
Yeah, the competition was tough. All I can say is that I'm glad I wasn't a judge. Hey, Jan. But three schools obviously won. The third prize went to Umlazi Comtech from KwaZulu-Natal. They presented a solution that is looking at generating electricity using recyclable material. And then the second school was quite innovative as well, Maputa de Chaba from Bumalango in Acornhoek. They created a solar stove using renewable energy. And they were able to show the judges on how you can actually cook on the stove. And the first prize went to Mbilwi High School or secondary school in Venda in Limpopo. And they are looking at creating a road of the future. And their slogan is still ringing in my head, because they call it, it's just a road, only just better, where they're basically looking at fixing our road infrastructure using cheaper material, which is also not harmful to our environment. Very, very innovative and very intelligent.
And it certainly illustrates that these kids were thinking deeply about the problems that are plaguing South Africa: electricity, quality of the roads, and I feel like there's a future in a reality show for that stove idea. We can invite Gordon Ramsay over and have a cooking show.
I would be interested in seeing Gordon Ramsay cook on that stove, and I'd be delighted to see that, because you can imagine when they were presenting this, I as an observer there, I was wondering if it was actually going to cook, and it did. Hey, so very young minds that are smart, but more importantly, they're not limited by the environment.
And perhaps not limited by the sort of institutionalized thinking of us older folks. They don't know where the walls of the box is, so they can think outside it.
Absolutely correct. And also, just listening to them, some of them went through 7 prototypes. So there was a lot of research that went into it. They went and researched, they looked at what are the laws around creating these particular things? Who do we need to interact? Who are our users? Who are the expert users that this would benefit? And will this benefit our community? There was a lot of thinking that came onto this. And what are the limitations in the prototypes and building that? And they had to rethink quite a few of their ideas before presenting the final solution to the judges in the past 3 days.
Mm-hmm. And what brought on the focus to providing education solutions to rural areas?
Well, we really believe that STEM education is important for every child who is in basic education. And we just felt that sometimes children from underserviced communities do not have the same exposure to STEM education and may opt not to go into STEM education because they haven't been exposed in terms of how it can be used. And it's one thing to sit in class and learn about science, technology, engineering, and maths, but being able to practically apply it to solve societal issues gives more context about how you can use this and can influence more youth to get involved in STEM.
And what impact has this program had on Samsung and the schools and the learners involved?
For us as Samsung, it has been a learning around the lay of the land and the need for that, and the importance of having the right partnerships. We didn't go about this on our own. We partnered with the state IT agency, CETA, and we've identified the need to also involve the Department of Basic Education, and also just making sure that our thinking is also in the right we're thinking along the right lines. For the students themselves, it's an opportunity that they'll take with them beyond this particular competition, not just by virtue of them having won through the 3 schools, but for the learners who participate, those skills can never be taken back. For the teachers involved, they gave us feedback to say some of the skills that were taught during this process are skills that they can implement within their teaching methods that they believe will improve in their teaching methods to their respective schools. So it will benefit learners beyond the teams that participated during this particular competition. For mentors as well, it's been awesome to see how they have benefited, but and also seeing about how they can individually, not just by spending time, but contribute to making a positive impact to children who wouldn't have otherwise had such opportunities. For example, to give you context, we asked every school to prepare a winning speech because obviously at the time we didn't know who was going to be winning this. And the mentor who then won had an opportunity to talk at the awards ceremony. And she said, I was able to say to my team, I am expected to present to executive committee, and these are the skills that are expected. And I was able to impart that to the team. And that was a benefit that the winning team wouldn't have had they not had a mentor from Samsung.
And I always call it the Mythbusters school of teaching and learning, where rather than just sort of academic learning, it's hands-on, try it for yourself, figure it out, fail, correct, and experiment the whole time. Sort of learn by doing, and it sounds like it was incredibly effective.
Very, very effective. It actually got me thinking, hey, to say how many times do we as adults want to give up when something doesn't work? But you always have to go back and regroup and try again and look at different ways and try and find out what is it that I'm missing and try again until you get to the final solution. And these youngsters are very resilient, hey?
Yeah. And what happens next?
So there's a lot that happens next. Well, one of the things that we said when we invited the schools is that we try and stay away from involving grade 12s, for example, because we'd really like them to focus on their metric exams. So some of those learners are in grade 11, and we're hoping that when the competition opens up next year, the same schools will still participate, and that the ones that didn't get the opportunity to get the first 3 places come back and they are better prepared for the next competition. And of course, we want to grow this because this was a pilot, project and go into other schools that didn't participate. And we'd like to see this growing beyond just the 10 schools. And we believe that this is a project that can be sustainable. And the learners that participated this year can become advocates, ambassadors of the program, and even mentors for future teams. So we just want to spread this knowledge of STEM education and its importance to our society.
Yeah, I was just thinking that the students who have come through the program, they themselves can become mentors as the program rolls on year after year. You start getting this baked in knowledge, this tacit knowledge that they can then pass on to the ones who come up after them. It's actually becomes, as you say, it becomes sustainable and a self-sustaining system.
Correct.
Brilliant. Lenhle, thank you so much for giving us feedback on the competition, who won, and how things went. We really appreciate it. Good luck for the future of this competition. It sounds like an amazing endeavor, and we'll definitely catch up with you with the next one.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you for inviting us to share Solve for Tomorrow.